Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the DropKick Podcast. And today we have a special guest with us, aka Darren Young, who's a former WWE superstar, and we just want to thank him for joining us. And he's also a former member of the Nexus, and
he's a WWE Tag Team Champion, three-time champion.
He's a former protege of Bob Backlund.
He is the first openly gay WWE superstar.
He's the most inspirational wrestler, voted by PWI in 2013.
Yeah, so once again, we just really want to thank you for joining us here tonight. First off, I'd just like to start by asking you, how has quarantine been treating you?
Well, first and foremost, thanks for having me on, guys. One of the things that I say to a lot of the interviewers is the word former is not in my vocabulary. Former sounds washed up. Former sounds like you're nobody, you're nothing. I like to call myself a WWE veteran because my journey started with them in 2003.
Right.
In 2003 to 2009, I was doing extra work with WWE, getting the door shut in my face so many times until I got signed with them in 2009. And then from 2009 to 2017, I was like a rock and roll superstar traveling all over the world. So I like to call myself a veteran because I've been with WWE for quite some time. But yeah, quarantine, it is what it is. The only thing that's keeping me sane are my god babies who are with me and doing my Rocky style workouts in the backyard. So I got to do what I got to do. I got to practice what I preach, and that's health is wealth.
For sure. What's your mental state been like through this tough time,
I'd be lying to you if I told you that it was great. But the one thing that's keeping me grounded is my workouts at home, staying in shape, being a big inspiration to my god babies, and also my social media. My social media is an open diary to the world. So anything I ever post always comes from the heart with the intent to inspire, motivate, and educate not only the youth, but anyone that follows me. You'll get people that say, I need a break from social media. Well, that's not my case because I know every time my feet touch the ground every morning, I know someone's counting on me. And I don't post for the thousands that might hate on my social media. I post for that one person who is inspired, like you guys.
Sure.
That is absolutely respectable. And I think that's a great way to look at this because I feel like a lot of people, their mental state isn't the best during this time. And I feel like a lot of people are spending a lot of time on social media and they think social media is the issue. It's the way you perceive it, I like to think. So, as you said, you've been doing your Rocky style workouts through quarantine. Could you elaborate on that, please? How have you been keeping in shape throughout self-quarantine?
Well, I train 6 days a week. I don't have any weights, so I have my ab wheel. I do 600 squats a day. I have my jump rope. I do 15 minutes of jump roping. And I have my resistant bands that I can hit my chest, my back. Typically, Sundays are my Mondays, so I start my work week with the weights, the resistant bands on Sunday. So Sunday will be chest and back. Tuesday will be legs and either biceps or triceps. And then Wednesday will be shoulders and either biceps or triceps. I'll take Thursday off. And then I'll take Thursday off, and then I'll restart my week back up on Friday.
All right. You talked about being a rock and roll rock star from being let go by WWE until now. So what have you been doing post WWE? Like any projects you've been working on?
Yeah, I just before the pandemic, I was in New York. I did my first ever off-Broadway musical about marriage equality. And I had no singing, I had no dancing. I have a little bit of acting experience from WWE, but no singing, no dancing experience. And I'm 36. Right. At 26, I wouldn't have done a Broadway musical in New York because I would have thought it's gay, only gay people do that. It's too feminine to do off-Broadway musical. But one of the biggest inspirations was Chris Jericho because everything he does, he has that Midas touch, He's done Dancing with the Stars. He's done stuff for MTV or whatever. So he's done so much outside the box. So I said to myself, well, if Chris Jericho, being a superstar, can do Dancing with the Stars, then let me be the first WWE veteran to do an off-Broadway musical. And let me tell you, it was the hardest thing I ever done in my life, because just imagine, have you ever been in the ring?
No, I haven't.
I'm training very soon. But.
Yeah, you're training very soon. Just imagine having a month to get ready for a WrestleMania match. You know what I mean? It's very nerve-wracking. Yeah. So that's the situation that I was put in. I had a month to learn how to sing and dance and do all this stuff. And I was the lead. I was the lead in the musical. And I hit a home run. And if I had the opportunity to do it again, I would do it again in a heartbeat, because I learned so much. And I would definitely do it again.
Sure. That's actually very interesting, because I feel like a lot of people could make so many like correlations between professional wrestling and Broadway. So would you say you transitioned well?
I did the best I could, you know. Again, I was one of the leads, and like I said, I have so much experience with wrestling, listening to the people. It was a love story, the musical. So to be able to listen to the people in the audience and have them actually rooting for me in the musical, I had a solo by myself where I was singing and I was dancing, and I could hear the people cheering for me. And that meant the most to me. And when I was done with my solo, I went off the stage, and I'm a grown man. I was crying my eyes out, because I was like, wow, I did it. I didn't think I could do it. I did it. And the other actors and actresses that have done Broadway before, they were like, this is why we do this, because of the reaction that they get from the people. So, you know, you put two and two together. Doing wrestling is like live Broadway theater. I had the opportunity to step my feet into actual theater in New York. So it was an amazing experience. I was very excited to talk about, because WWE had actually invited me back for WrestleMania in Tampa, but with the pandemic, everything got shut down. So I was very excited to go back to WWE, and who knows, I could have gotten re-signed, but they were going to have me do Access. They were going to have me do some stuff for the network. Actually, June 2nd, I don't know if it's going to be live, but June 2nd, they've called me back to do The Bump, their show from 7:45 a.m. to 8:45 a.m. Cool. So June 2nd, I'll be on The Bump, so definitely look out for that.
For sure.
Check it out. Absolutely. Everybody check out The Bump. As you said, Jericho was an inspiration for you to go into Broadway for things like that, breaking the stereotype. Considering Chris Jericho's been doing a lot lately in the business, he's been doing some stuff with All Elite Wrestling, New Japan Pro Wrestling. Could you see yourself signing with either one of those two promotions?
I'm working on it as we speak. I had an opportunity to wrestle in Singapore. I've never wrestled anywhere in Asia, and I had an opportunity to wrestle in Singapore in November, but I was double booked for an important show in New York for actually my wrestling coach. So I didn't want to bail on my wrestling coach. So I had to postpone my first ever trip to Singapore to fight one of my toughest challenges on the independents in New York around Thanksgiving time. So those are the sacrifices that you have to make. I'm a loyal person, so I had to be there for my coach. But as we speak, I'm talking to New Japan, All Elite. I'm talking to them again as we speak. So one monkey don't stop no show, man. I got to keep it moving. If one door doesn't open, I have to go knock on the next one, and then the next one, and the next one. That's how I made it to That's how I made it to WWE. My journey with WWE didn't happen overnight. Like my tag team partner Titus O'Neil, he went from the football field to wrestling. Me, I was what they call a weekend warrior from like early 2000s to 2009. I was scooping ice cream at Dairy Queen. I was a manager. I was working for a wonderful Jewish family that were like my family, you know. So I had to
Mm-hmm.
do what I had to do to earn my money during the week so I could wrestle and do tryouts with WWE on the weekends. And like I said, with WWE, I got the door shut in my face so many times that May 4th, 2009, out of 75 guys and girls from all over the world in Tampa, Florida, I paid to do a tryout. Nowadays, guys don't have to pay to do a tryout. I paid to do a
Mm-hmm.
tryout with WWE, and I got signed. I beat out all the people that were at the tryout. The same day I got signed was the same day me and AJ Lee got signed. So it's memories that I'll never forget.
Sure.
And I said with New Japan, the Rocky Ramiro, who books for New Japan, I said, "Hey man, whatever it takes. If I got to try out for New Japan," he said, "No, you don't need to try out." I said, "Whatever it takes, you know." So hopefully after this pandemic kind of settles down, or they figure out a way to have fans in the crowd and
Mm-hmm.
book American wrestlers out in New Japan, hopefully I can have my opportunity out there. So fingers crossed, fellas.
I hope you make it, man. I can't wait. But we all have someone we look up to as idols. I have Shawn Michaels I look up to. You know what I mean, and be that guy one day, hopefully. But who did you look up growing up to?
Shawn Michaels, Ricky
Oh wow,
Steamboat.
yeah.
The reason why those guys were big inspirations to me was because, like, as a kid, I didn't know why I gravitated towards them, but
Mm-hmm.
everyone, including me, I love a good underdog.
For
I
sure.
love a guy that's fighting from up under, and Shawn Michaels made me believe. He made you believe.
Mm-hmm.
So he was someone that I studied not for the moves he did, but his selling. Because
Mm-hmm.
what what's what's very gratifying to me is everyone knows that it's I don't like using the F word, fake, but everyone knows it's entertainment. But there's
Sure.
nothing more rewarding for me than to listen to someone say, "Oh, I think he's hurt. Oh, that looked real." Well, that's the
Mm-hmm.
point, you know. You want them to believe. And even if I'm like the opening match of a show and the people are just sitting on their hands, my goal is to get them on the edge of their seat like this, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I want the fans to be like this. You don't want the fans to be like this. You don't
Yeah.
want them like that. If they're like that, you're not doing your job. But if they're like this, that means you're doing something.
For sure. Yeah. You
Yeah.
just gotta hook that crowd in. You just gotta work them. And did you watch that Matt Riddle match last night? Speaking of.
Now, honestly, I haven't watched much wrestling. I catch clips, and my Pro and Bro Wrestling podcast homie, he's
Mm-hmm.
a big wrestling fan. My
Oh, I know
neighbor,
them.
uh, he'll fill me on what's going on, but I can pretty much catch up on what's going on through the internet. But
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see what was going on with him. What's going on with him?
So speaking, he knocked his opponent out with a knee, right? It was like a ripcord
Mm,
knee or something, and the guy's tooth, like they were selling it so hard, it looked so real, and then
mm,
I thought it was legit because like I cringed when that happened. There was
mm,
like blood everywhere. I was like, is that legit? Because they tied me in. You know what I mean? They worked
Yeah.
me, and that's their
mm.
job. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I didn't check it out, but yeah, that's the name of the game, man. Is
Hmm.
to you want the people to be drawn in, and that's
Sure.
always been my goal. And some of the best, like Shawn Michaels, Ricky Steamboat, Randy Orton, a personal
Hmm.
friend of mine, he's got that ability to draw the people in, and
Hmm.
that that's what we want to do at the end of the day. We want to draw the people in.
For sure.
Yeah. So, speaking of when you were younger and the people that you looked up to, do you remember your first wrestling memory, or who or what exactly got you into professional wrestling?
Yeah, when I was a kid, my dad got me into it. I'm still close to my dad. uh, Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant, when he body slammed him, that was a moment for me. 1994, the Meadowlands Arena in New Jersey, I was able to see guys like Yokozuna,
Hmm.
Owen Hart, two guys that, you know, passed away way too soon.
For
Two
sure.
guys I wish two guys I wish I would have met. I've never met Yoko. I've never met Owen, but I've heard great stories about them. It's funny, Mark Henry, when he first started, would always drive Yokozuna around because he was so big when he first started. And then years and years later, Mark Henry, I was driving him around for almost 5 years.
Wow.
So I always say I can say whatever I want about Mark Henry because I drove him around for almost 5 years. It's funny, when I first got up to the main roster, at the time I had the spiky, like, blonde hair and gold sequins around my head. And I remember Mark Henry being in the locker room. And again, when you're new, you do get hazed. And I was hazed not in a bad way, but I remember being in the locker room and him just sitting there very long-winded and saying, "Boy, why you got your hair like that? It makes you look gay." This was before I came out, man, and I was just like stumbling and stuttering all of my words. Yeah. And fast forward to when I came out publicly to the world, he was one of the first guys to embrace me and said, "Man, how come you didn't tell me?" Man, I was just fearful of the unknown, you know. And from then on, him and I drove up and down the road together, and I did all the driving. I would tell him, "I'll do all the driving because I love to drive, but I'm going to be the DJ because sometimes a lot of these guys, they play some wacky music. I need some R&B music. I can't have, you know, there's a time and a place for the hippity hoppity music, but driving from city to city, 300 miles a night, I need some relaxing music. I need some baby making music."
What was your go-to track to listen to in the car?
I'm a big fan of a lot of the new artists that I discover on Spotify. So after we get off, look up Daily, Daley, Daily. I'm a huge fan of him, and I was actually fanboying when I literally stalked him on social media and said, "Hey, man, I love your music, man. I love listening to it on the ride." I was doing IG stories, playing his music, tagging him, and he started following me. And then him and I started talking, and then he got me like tickets to 3 of his shows, and I was literally like fanboying. And I remember one show, I went with my mom, and we were like front row, like we were literally humping the stage, and he was just so amazing. And as much as he's a fan of me, as much as I was a fan of him, he was a fan of me and all the work I do in the ring and outside of the ring. So it meant the world to me. So definitely look him up, Daily, if you're an R&B head.
For sure. Speaking of moments, how's it being part of Nexus? Did you guys feel like you guys had a chip on your shoulders going in and out of matches and getting attacked by Cena and attacking Cena? But how's it like being part of that whole, like, I guess you can say, angle?
It was so much fun, man. Like tomorrow morning on my Pro Wrestling Podcast, episode 49, I'm actually going to have Heath Miller.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
And I've done 49 podcasts of my own, and I never laughed so hard in my life because everything he was bringing up was true. That stuff that we did, like from doing the Nexus stuff, from setting off fire alarms to hiding under bleachers, we were bad dudes, man. Bad dudes. Out of all the Nexus members, all of them are great, but Heath Slater is like my heart, man. He's like my brother. He's the only wrestler that genuinely, he'll say to you, "Man, I love you, Freddie. I love you," and he really means that. It's not a joke. It really comes from his heart. He means well, so definitely check that out tomorrow when it drops. You can hear crazy stories about Heath and I, but it was a lot of fun. It was, we didn't know what was going to happen. We just showed up in Miami, Florida, where we debuted, and we just wreaked havoc. And Vince McMahon said, "You guys got to hit a home run or you're going to be fired." Meaning that we had to tear up everything. We had to beat up everyone. We had to tear up the ring. We had to cause havoc, and we did. It's just unfortunate we didn't get that W at SummerSlam. But if this pandemic didn't happen, I think we would have had a reunion because it was 10 years. It was 10 years. So if this pandemic didn't happen,
Wow.
we would have probably reunited, and we're not young boys anymore. We're veterans, like I said,
Mhm.
So we're older, we're wiser, we're more seasoned. When I was part of the Nexus, I was closeted. So I was hiding those inner blocks. Those inner blocks were
Mhm.
like holding me down, like, oh, I gotta deepen my voice. I gotta sound more masculine, like. But once I was able to come out to the world, I was able to get access to so much cool stuff, doing stuff with
Mhm.
Bob Backlund and just being myself. So just imagine if Nexus would have came back, and who knows what would have happened. But we were
Sure.
scheduled to come back for WrestleMania. But hey, man, like I
This year's
What?
said,
WrestleMania?
yeah, this year's WrestleMania in Tampa.
Whoa. Okay,
Dude,
this
Yeah.
is
that's
huge because
huge.
earlier this week we actually had PJ Black, Justin Gabriel,
Hmm.
on the show.
Hmm.
We asked him would he be open to a Nexus reunion. He told us something was in the works. I told him, I said, could we possibly see in New Japan a Nexus and Bullet Club type angle? He told me I almost hit the nail. He didn't tell me on exactly what, but uh,
PJ, PJ, I love PJ now, but back then I didn't really care for him, because he was the type of guy. If all three of us are riding in the car together, and Daniel's like, um, oh, I can't eat, McDonald's. Like if that's the only thing that's around, we have to eat that.
Mhm.
And if Daniel's like, oh, I can't eat that, we have to find something else. I'm like, brother, we have 300 miles,
Yeah, you guys got a long way.
yeah.
you just got to go along with it. And also, I think at the time, or before or after, he was dating Kelly Kelly, and I always thought Kelly Kelly was such a beautiful girl. And something happened where they broke up, and I was just like a big brother. I was kind of like pissed at him, like, man, like, what the hell? She's such a
Mhm.
beautiful girl. But yeah, I love PJ now. We actually did a little mini Nexus reunion, me and Michael Tarver, for Chikara, probably a year ago or so.
I
So
think I
we
saw
had a
that on
little,
YouTube. Yeah.
yeah, we had a little mini reunion. So like I said, never say never. That's why I stay in shape and I stay ready. So I ain't got to get ready.
Hey man, when you guys come back, I can't wait, man. It's gonna be great stuff. But
Yeah, who knows, man? Who knows if it'll ever happen again? It was supposed to happen, WrestleMania, because it's 10 years. I don't
yeah,
know if you can. I don't know if you can do it 11 years in or 12 years in, maybe 15, maybe 20. But that 10-year mark was this year's WrestleMania. But oh well.
man,
Are you able to tell us what you guys were going to be doing at WrestleMania?
I have no idea. I just know that I was going to be at Access doing autographs,
man.
doing stuff for the network. But who knows? With WWE, they never tell you to the last minute. You just
Hmm.
got to be
Yeah.
ready.
Sure. How's it? What do you think of the current landscape of pro wrestling? Do you think it has evolved as you grew up, and you know all of this knowledge now that you know? So, how do you think it's evolved? And as you grow older and wiser, you realize some things that you didn't know before, right? You talked about. So.
Well, I think right now, currently, it's a great time to, when you're in the business, it's a good time to be in the business now, because
Hmm.
it's just not one entity. It's not just WWE. You have AEW, you have Impact, you have
Sure.
NWA, you have New Japan. So you have all these different outlets that you can watch. And don't get it twisted that, it's AEW versus WWE. Just watch it
Just
all and
watch it.
enjoy
Yeah.
it. You know what I mean? Just watch it all and enjoy it. AEW is doing things that WWE is mirroring. That's great. It is what it is, man. But I
Hmm.
enjoy watching it all. I'm a fan just like you are. I've been outside of the business. I've looked at the business on the outside. I've been in the business. Now I'm back on the outside. So
Hmm.
I've seen it all and I've done it all, and I still have a lot left in the tank, and who knows what will happen in 2021 or whatever. But I always try to keep a positive mental outlook. But I always say that my fight is much more bigger in the ring. It's outside of the ring, fighting bigotry and hatred. So on top of the wrestling, I do a lot of speaking engagements all over the world about the damaging effects of bullying and sharing my story. And, you can cut promos in front of all types of crowds, but the true test I've realized for me is doing 45 minutes in front of 500 kids and holding their attention and being able to be a great storyteller. That's really the true test. If you could take 500 kids and have them be silent and listen to you and cheer when you need them to cheer, and have them be emotionally invested into what you're saying, and not have parents walk out when you touch upon being pro LGBTQ, that's an amazing feeling, man.
It's home, man, for sure.
Yeah, that's an amazing feeling. And also being able to have my mom, who's also gay, she attends these speaking engagements with me, and she's like my personal photographer. So it's literally a tag team effort. Parents, after I'm done speaking, will come up to her and be like, "Oh, how do I handle my son or daughter being bullied or struggling with their sexuality?" There are many ways that you can handle it, but the one main way is to just love them unconditionally. You know what I mean? Because what's worse? What's worse? You tell me. Accepting that your son or daughter is gay, or accepting the fact that you had to bury them because they didn't accept the fact that they were gay? What's worse? You know what I mean?
Absolutely. So speaking on mental health, because that is another part that we really enjoy elaborating on in this podcast. On the road with WWE, 300 days a year, many matches. You spend a lot of time from home. What's the mental health like on the road?
Well, FaceTime helps. It really does. Me right now, I'm single, but I don't have any kids of my own. But it's tough for guys that have kids and have families. So what happens, some guys get lonely on the road. So I think you know where I'm getting at. But FaceTime is so important, and thank God that we have it nowadays.
Sure.
I mean, for me, I enjoy traveling. I enjoy being on the road. I enjoy being at the airport, going from city to city. Some guys want that downtime, But I'll be honest with you, it was getting rough when you have to fly out Christmas Eve or Christmas night. You want to be with your family and stuff like that, but you got to do what you got to do to make the shows, because usually the holidays are where you make your most money. So you got to just suck it up and hit the town, So having a good mental attitude is very important in this business. But it is tough for some guys. I can be honest with you, it is tough. But like I said, FaceTime is where it's at.
For sure. According to our research, you made your debut on the Indies in 2002. What have you noticed about the locker room's attitude? Have they stepped up, or what's their mindset at now? Then you look back at guys from the Attitude Era, since it was a different time period. So what's the difference now?
Well, right now I'm a lot more easygoing. I think. I guess this year will be 19 years. I don't know how many years I've been doing this, but right now I'm easygoing. When I first started, I was a little bit of a hothead because not in a bad way, but let's say, Daniel, if your gear isn't clean, I'm gonna let you know by like aggressively throwing you out of the ring, aggressively hitting you hard in safe places. But I'm going to be snug with my stuff, and I'm going to verbally say, make sure you wash your gear. So that's how I was when I first started in 2002. I started in West Paterson, New Jersey, Independent Wrestling Federation. The same school I went to was the same school Robert Stone, Robbie E. went to. So we were taught the right way. We were taught how to call it in the ring. We were taught how to have tights and boots and be professional. Um, but yeah, I was a little bit of a hothead back then. So anytime someone um, didn't have clean gear or wasn't at practice as often as I was, I would let you know. I would call you out. So I'm a little bit easygoing now. I always say there are people that want to do this as a hobby, and there are people that want to do this as a career. If you guys want to do it as a hobby, that's great. But for me, that wants to do it as a career, you're going to see the difference. You know what I mean? There's a big difference. There are people that want to take it as a hobby. There are people that want to do it as a career. If you want to do it as a career, you're going to be in the gym. You're going to be watching tapes, not for the moves, but how they tell a story. For example, Randy Orton is one of my favorite wrestlers. It's not the moves he does, it's the stuff he does in between. So me being back on the independence, the minor league level, I I I say in my head that I'm the Black Randy Orton, meaning I'm gonna work in a way where he's slow and methodical. You know, when you watch Main Event or Superstars, the shows that air before the live shows, the matches are very quick. I was doing those matches, 4 minute matches, 6 minute matches. They're so quick. Those matches, even though that they're shorter, they're more tiring. Being able to do like a 20-minute match, 25-minute match on the independents right now, I've had some of my best work. I've been able to work with Sean Spears, Fala Ba from TNA, Jake Atlas, who recently got signed. So since leaving WWE in 2017, I've had some of my best quality matches working like if I'm a Black Randy Orton, slow and methodical. Every punch means something. Every kick means something. Every headbutt means something. So the pacing for me is just so much better now. And, you know, when you have someone like Sean Spears, who I wrestled before the pandemic, after we're done with our match, you know, we talked about what we were going to do, but we're not like buddy or anything, but we've always been cordial to one another. The most gratifying thing someone can say, like Sean Spears, is when we come to the curtain, he says, "Man, I needed that," meaning that he's not getting the quality matches with other opponents, but when he got in the ring with me, he was like, "Wow, man, I needed that," and that meant the world to me. The respect of your peers is like,
It's top tier.
It's top tier. When like someone like Dean Ambrose, when we were with WWE, when he comes up to you on a live event and said, "Oh man, I like how you did X, Y, and Z in the ring. You know, that looked pretty cool." For him to say that, and because he's a cool guy, but you know he's off on his own. You know, what you see in the ring is how he is backstage. You know, but for him to come up to me and say that means the world to me.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Firsthand, I think I speak for a lot of children, or well, we're not children anymore. A lot of people from my generation, growing up when we were a lot younger and a lot more immature, there was a lot more stereotyping in the media. There's a lot of offensive things, and a lot of us grew up with closed-minded. A lot of us were ignorant towards LGBT community and things like that. But it took people like you in the media opening up. It took people in the media like Ellen DeGeneres, and it made us all better people. So I just want to say firsthand, thank you. You made me a better person. You made a lot of us less ignorant and more accepting.
Listen, brother, I was ignorant too. I was one of those guys way before I came out. If if you guys say, "Oh, that's gay," I would agree with you and be like, "Oh yeah, that's gay." I would deepen my voice in promos. I was always a big fan of Shane Douglas, so I would always deepen my voice to sound more net. I got to be careful because my family is sleeping. I don't want to wake them up, but I would deepen my voice to sound more masculine. I would be one of those those closed-minded guys that was just fearful. I was just fearful. I didn't want anyone to know. That's why I had girlfriends to hide all that stuff, you know. But when I finally came out, and at the time I didn't realize that my story was a big deal until, of all people, I just posted on my IG story. Of all people, Cher reached out to me on social media. The icon Cher. I hope you guys may be too young. How old are you guys?
18.
17.
18, 17. You guys know who Cher is?
I'm gonna be honest. I do not.
Well, you need to look her up. She's an icon. Cher, Cher. You know, I barely know who she is, but she's an icon in the music industry. And she contacted me on social media and said, because of her hearing my story, one of her wrestling friends who's a big wrestling fan came out to his family because of me. And it was that minute I realized that my story was a big deal. That's why I always say, don't die with the story, and you tell it.
Absolutely. Sure. Like, honestly, like you said, using gay as an insult and all things like that. I feel like, especially a lot of us young men, we've done that in the past, but it takes people like you, especially in sports and the media, it makes us all better people. So we really appreciate that. But as we touch on the change that our generation is facing, like how we're opening up our closed minds and being more accepting, have you noticed this in the locker room? Because you've been in the game for a long time.
Yeah, you know, everyone's always been cool to me. You have some favorites and not so favorites. You might have some people that might not want to lose to you because of who you are. But I always say, if they don't know you personally, don't take it personal. You know, when I walk into a locker room, when I walk backstage, I'm there to work. I'm there to make my money, and I'm there to whoop up on somebody, go to the pay window, and go to the next city. So I'm not, you know, I say, instead of you worrying about what I do behind closed doors, you should be worried about what your wife is doing behind closed doors when you're on the road. So don't worry about me. Worry about yourself. That's what I always say.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Yeah. From the message that you sent to the public with the Block the Hate movement, which I'm a big fan of, I support that. In my eyes, like Vikram said,
yes, sir.
In my eyes, you've opened up a lot of closed-minded people, like, you know, me and Vikram. And what has that meant to you? What has that significant, you know, opportunity meant to you? Because, you know, I'm really proud of you, first of all. You know, I watched you growing up, and now I'm 18. So what has all of this meant to you?
Well, I'm proud of you guys for reaching out to me and doing a podcast. Like I said, I say it daily, and I've said it 3 times already on this Skype. Don't die with the story, and you tell it. So whether one person sees this or 10,000 people see this, a light bulb will pop on, you know, with somebody watching this, you know, and you guys are making moves with your podcast, your interviewing and stuff like that. So I believe in helping those under me succeed, because I didn't get to where I got by myself. I had to help, you know what I mean? So during this downtime, when people reach out to me to do, interview or a podcast, first have some common sense, you know, and then we can go from there. And you guys are bringing it, so you guys keep bringing it. But what the Block the Hate movement means to me is it's more than just an LGBTQ movement. You know, we talk about LGBTQ all the time. It's more than that. It started with me being the first openly gay WWE superstar, but it's a movement for anyone that gets bullied into silence. In this world, we all receive hate for various reasons, but in order to be strong and successful, you got to block the hate. Sure. As a kid growing up, I was overweight. I had a speech impediment where I would stutter a lot, but I didn't let those disabilities hold me down from achieving my dreams. In my high school yearbook, the last sentence in my high school yearbook, it said, "WWF, here I come." And look at me, you know what I mean?
Made it,
and
man.
People say, "Oh, I wish you were in WWE. I wish you would have been a tag team champion longer." I did it. I did it. Whether I was champion one time, 5 times, 10 times, I did it, and I'm very proud of it. And it's in the record book, so to speak.
For sure.
You know, for me, being the first, I've been able to pave the way for other LGBTQ athletes to go after their dreams and not allow the opinions of others to derail them on their journey to greatness.
Mm-hmm.
And also by being the first, I've encouraged other LGBTQ athletes that they have a duty to instill confidence and to lead by example. And that's so important. So, like I said, with the whole social media needing a break and everything, I want people to either see me on the big screen or on my social media and say, well, if he can do it, then so can I. And in crazy times like this, with all the chaos going on in the States and the pandemic, the only thing I can do, the only thing I can control are my thoughts and my actions and my social media, which is my diary. So, you know, social media and media training that WWE at one time forced upon me when I came out, they forced media training on me. And at the time, I was like, in 2013, I was like, I don't need media training. I don't get out of here. I'm going to say whatever I want to say.
For sure, yeah.
But in all actuality, it helped me out so much because it helped me become a better storyteller. It helped me weed out the negativity. If you guys were to ask me, oh, what do you think about President Trump? I would come at you guys like, unfortunately, I can't control what our president does. I can only control what I do. And every time my feet touch the ground, I know someone's counting on me. So I direct a question right back to me because I can get on this tangent about the president, and then this interview becomes about him and not about me. You guys asked to talk to me. So as introvert as I am, I'm very quiet. I'm very to myself, very shy. When I get asked to do an interview, that's when I got to turn on. It's about me, myself, and I. In a selfish way, I'm talking about me. You guys asked me about Trump. Nope, it's about
you,
me.
man.
It's about you, absolutely. Okay, so one thing that we always love to do to end off our interviews is we like to name 10 wrestlers or people that you have worked with in the past to our knowledge, and you can use one sentence or one word to describe them.
Okay, so you're gonna so you're gonna name off the wrestlers?
Yeah, you got a whole list. Okay, CM Punk. Wait, sorry, what were you gonna say?
Well, what did you say, Daniel? 1 or 2 words?
Oh, no, I'm Darren. That's
Vikram.
Okay.
I'm Vikram. One word or one sentence. You can choose a sentence.
All right, CM Punk.
Rough.
John Cena.
Hard worker.
Triple H.
He told me I couldn't use the cross-faced chicken wing.
I heard about that story.
I heard about that too.
Yeah.
Daniel Bryan.
Yes.
Titus O'Neil.
My brother.
Justin Gabriel, PJ Black.
Metrosexual.
Bob Backlund.
Nuts.
Vince McMahon.
He gave me an opportunity to do the Bob Backlund gimmick because it was my gimmick. Again, I'm going on a tangent, but
no, it's all good, man.
I'll never say a bad thing about Vince McMahon. He gave me a shot. It's just unfortunate the people that work under him didn't believe in me.
AJ Lee.
AJ Lee. Started from the bottom, now we're here.
And finally, Natalya.
My heart, my soul, my everything. The hardest working women's wrestler on the roster.
I've heard a lot of great things about her.
Yes.
We thank you so much for joining us and giving us the opportunity to have you on our podcast. You are very courageous. You are very inspirational. and you are a very good pro wrestler, so we really appreciate your time.
Awesome.
No,
Absolutely.
thank you guys. You keep doing your thing. Anytime. Really keep doing your thing, man. It takes a lot of courage and it takes a lot of work to do these interviews and to reach out to people, but keep reaching out to people. You got me and Gabriel. Who's next?
We got TJP coming up this weekend.
TJP?
TJ Perkins.
Okay.
TJ Perkins.
Yeah, I need to reach out to him. Yeah, he's been on my list to do the podcast, and he said he would. I got to reach out to him as well. Cool. That's good, man.
Where can we find you on Twitter, Instagram, and do you have any merchandise that you'd like to link below?
Oh, Twitter and Instagram at Real Fred Ross, my government name, not Darren Young, my government name, RealFredRosser, and my Pro and Bro Wrestling podcast is Pro and Bro Wrestling. And support the movement. BlockTheHate.com is where it's at. And I'm all about Block the Hate, saluting the great fellas.
So, Arnold said Nutella over peanut butter. He told me to say that to you, but
when did you talk to him?
We started
just
talking
this past Wednesday.
2 days ago. Yeah, he followed me, so yeah.
Oh yeah, what? You reached out to him or what?
Yeah, we talked about things, and he's a pretty cool guy. Yeah.
Oh, that's my bro, man. I love him, man. Like, he's the reason why I do the podcast every week. He's like my therapist, man. We do the podcast every week. We hang out whenever we can. We're gonna go live tomorrow, 7:45 a.m. No, we're gonna go live 7:20 a.m. Pacific time, talking about the upcoming podcast that we did with Heath Slater and whatever else is going on in the wrestling world. So, yeah, that's my therapist. If it wasn't for him, I don't know where I'd be. I'd be lost without him.
For sure. Well, we want to thank you for taking your time, and I'm sorry again, I didn't know the time zone thing, but
yeah.
Thanks, man.